to T plus delta T is the rotational flow. So that was also explained by this figure that how the rotational and irrotational flow can be differentiated. We also derived one equation considering the element at time t and element at t plus delta t when it is rotated. So considering its two positions, superimposing them, we derived the equation and we found the net rate of rotation of the element that is partial v over partial x minus partial u over partial y must be 0 for the irrotational flow, and for rotational flow obviously it will have certain value. We also use this equation to check the rotational and irrotational flow fields. At the end of the lecture we discussed circulation and vorticity. Circulation is the line integral of the velocity along a closed path that we discussed, and differential circulation we also was discussed, and this equation was presented. And then vorticity is the circulation per unit enclosed area. So this is what we have up till now covered in our this first topic, that is elementary hydrodynamics. So anybody having any question up till now, so he or she may ask before I continue with this and complete this topic. Yes, any questions from your side relating to the lecture number 1? Okay, so if you don't have any questions, let me continue with where we left last time. So the continuation of that lecture, that topic, elementary hydrodynamics. So in today's lecture, you will learn what are streamlines, are psi lines, are flow lines, what are equipotential lines, what is the stream function, what is the equipotential function, how they are related, and what are the flow nets, concept of it, what are the flow fields. So these are the contents of today's first part of the lecture, where we complete our first topic, that is elementary hydrodynamics. So starting with streamlines, psi lines are flow lines. So these are the imaginary lines which represent the mean direction of velocities of a number of fluid particles in motion. Basically, the represent the average direction of flow of a fluid. They represent the mean direction of velocities of a number of fluid particles in motion. Tangent rod at any point on the flow line, it gives you the velocity vector. Now these lines represent the pattern of flow, that how the fluid or in which direction the fluid is moving, and they are helpful in determining the rate of flow. So using this concept of streamlines and especially the flow nets, we can determine the flow or rate of flow, or especially the seepage flow through the soil or under the some hydraulic structures, through dam bodies, etc. So these are the lines for which stream function is constant. Remember this, along a streamline, the stream function remains constant. Some of the properties of streamlines are mentioned over here. So as you can see, typically these lines with arrows, they are the streamlines showing the average direction of flow of the fluid, or showing the mean direction of velocities of number of fluid particles. So at any point on this streamline, if you draw a tangent, that is a velocity vector. So some of the properties, as I mentioned, are shown. There can be no flow across a streamline. So remember, this flow will always be along the streamline like this. It cannot go across it. So across the streamline, flow will not take place. They cannot cross each other. The streamlines, they will always have distinct paths, distinct, you can say, directions, so they will not cross each other. Streamline spacing varies inversely with respect to velocity. So in case of more velocity, like in case of converging flow, like flow in converging pipeline or converging channel, for example, so the velocity will increase because of reduced area, and in that case the streamline spacing will reduce. So where the velocity is more, streamline spacing will be reduced, and where the velocity is greater, in case of diverging flow, when the diameter of the pipe is increasing, channel size is increasing, width is increasing, so in that case velocity will decrease, and the flow lines will have more spacing. So these are some of the properties of the flow lines which are mentioned. Let us consider any particular flow line having point P on it in XY coordinate system. So consider any point P on a streamline having coordinates x and y. Let V is the velocity vector which is tangent to this streamline at this point. So this V has two components, V in y direction and U in x direction. Now tangent theta is the angle of the velocity vector with the x-axis. Now tangent of this theta, we can write it is V over U in terms of components of velocity. Tangent theta is V over U, and in terms of the distance, vertical over horizontal, dy over dx, again we can define the tangent theta. So with these two equations, tangent theta is V over U and tangent theta dy over dx. Comparing both, we can write V over U is equal to dy over dx. Rearranging it, we can write V dx is equal to U dy, and further U dy minus V dx is equal to 0. This is the equation of the streamline that you should keep in mind. U dy minus V dx, or minus V dx plus U dy is equal to 0. That is the equation of the streamline. Next is the EQ potential lines are the phi lines. These are the imaginary lines which represent the point of equal pressure head in a flow. So these are again the imaginary lines which are drawn in such a way that along this line the pressure head remains same. They are the line joining the points of equal pressure head in a flow. Along this line, if you find pressure head, so you will find that is equal. If you install piezometer along this line, you will find the same pressure head there. Velocity potential function phi is constant along these lines. So it's a line along with the velocity potential function is constant. So this is another way to define it. Next is what is a stream function and what is a velocity potential function that we have to define over here. So stream function is represented by this letter psi. So the stream function psi, which is having coordinate x and y, is mathematically defined for a Cartesian coordinate system, xy coordinate system, two-dimensional coordinate system as. You have to keep these two equations in mind. U is partial psi over partial y, and V is minus partial psi over partial x, or partial psi over partial x is minus V. So these are two equations used to define mathematically the stream function in terms of U and V. U is partial psi over partial y, and V is minus partial psi over partial x. Velocity potential function, on the other hand, is mathematically defined in again Cartesian xy coordinate system as partial phi over partial x is equal to U, and partial phi over partial y is equal to V. So again mathematically in terms of V and U, components of velocity along x and y direction in two-dimensional coordinate system, the velocity potential function is defined by equation 1 and 2. Partial phi over partial x is U and partial phi over partial y is equal to V. Again these equations you should keep in mind, you should remember them. Next thing is that we have to prove that phi lines and psi lines are orthogonal to each other. It means that the phi lines and psi lines, they cross each other normally at right angle. तो जहाँ phi line psi line से जाके मिलेगी तो उस पॉइंट पे जो एंगल होगा दोनों लाइनों के दरमियान वो 90 डिग्री होगा. दिस इज कॉल्ड एज orthogonality of phi lines and psi lines. That means phi lines and psi lines, they cross each other at 90 degree angle are normally. So to prove it, obviously we need to find the slope of the both lines. If the slope of the both lines is opposite to each other, so we'll say that it means that both lines are normal to each other, or they cross each other normally. Now first of all, let us consider a psi line along which psi is constant. So consider a line along which psi is constant means the flow line or the EQ or the streamline along which psi is constant. So mathematically, along a streamline d psi is 0. There is no change in psi with respect to x and y. So what is the equation for differential of psi? That is partial psi over partial x into dx plus partial psi over partial y into dy. So this is the equation that you have to keep in mind for the differential of the stream function. Now we know that mathematically U is partial psi over partial y and minus V is partial psi over partial x. So putting the value, so it will be minus V dx instead of partial psi over partial x. we can put minus v. So minus v dx, and instead of partial psi or partial y, we can put u plus u dy, that is equal to differential of psi. We know that differential of psi is 0 along a streamline because we want to find the equation and the slope of the streamline. So for a streamline, minus v dx plus u dy is equal to 0. And rearranging it, we can write dy over dx is equal to, you can take on the other side. So dy over dx is equal to v over u. This is the slope of the streamline. Dy over dx is equal to v over u. Now let us find the slope of the equipotential line. Now consider a line along which phi is constant, that is called as the equipotential line. So mathematically we can write d phi is equal to 0. That is differential of phi is 0. There is no change in phi along a equipotential line. So the equation of differential of phi is partial phi over partial x into dx plus partial phi over partial y into dy, where u is partial phi over partial x, that we know mathematically how to define the velocity potential function in terms of u and v. U is partial phi over partial x and v is partial phi over partial y. Now putting the values, partial phi over partial x, we can put u over here, so u dx, partial phi over partial y, you can put v over here, so v dy is equal to d phi. We know that along our equipotential line d phi is 0, so u dx plus v dy is equal to 0. That is the equation of the equipotential line. Again rearranging it to find the slope, so dy over dx is equal to minus u over v. So if you look at the slope of the streamline, it is v over u, and if you look at the slope of the phi line, it is u over v, minus u over v. So it means that equation 1, which is slope of the streamline, and equation 2, which is slope of the phi line. So from these two equations, we can conclude that how we can prove it. Now further, so this is typically shown the network of streamlines and the equipotential line, that is called as a flow net. So these are the streamlines, K1, K2, K3, and these are the equipotential lines, Psi1, C1, C2, C6. And if you see, for example, this is the equipotential line C1, and these are the flow lines. So wherever this C1 is crossing or intersecting the streamline, so that angle is 90-degree angle, and the resulting grid, it is a square which is formed approximately. Similarly, you can see over here, so wherever the streamlines and the equipotential lines are intersecting, so the angle between them is normal or 90-degree, that is called as orthogonality of streamlines and equipotential lines. Now further, we have to prove that we have actually two types of flows which have been discussed in this. One is the continuous flow or continuity, another is the irrotational flow. So we have to see over here that in case of continuous flow, or if a flow field is satisfying the continuous flow, so will it have the stream function, or will the stream function exist, or the velocity potential function exist? तो हमने ये देखना है कि जब continuous flow होगा तो उसमें stream function exist करेगा या velocity potential function लाजमी exist करेगा. इसी तरह हमने देखना है कि we have to see in case of irrotational flow, out of the stream function and velocity potential function, which will be the must existence. So this is what we have to check over here. So firstly, let us start to check it for the continuity of flow in two-dimensional form. So we have to see which of the function, stream function and the velocity potential function, satisfies this equation. So for continuity of flow in two-dimensional form, we know partial u over partial x plus partial v over partial y is equal to 0. This is our two-dimensional continuity equation. Now let us first of all take the stream function psi. We know that mathematically partial psi over partial y is u and partial psi over partial x is minus u. Now putting the values, instead of u, you can put partial psi over partial x, as you can see in this equation, 1, and instead of v over here you can put minus partial psi over partial x. Further simplifying it, we can write partial psi square over partial x partial y, and this negative sign minus partial psi square over partial square psi over partial x partial y is equal to 0. So if you look at the left hand side of this equation, so these two terms will be cancelling each other. So what will show that from equation 1, it is clear that the left hand side of this equation 1 will always be 0. So from equation 1, it is clear that left hand side of the equation 1 will always be 0. What does it mean? That stream function will always exist in continuous flow. तो जब भी continuous flow होगा तो stream function जो है लाजमी वहाँ exist करेगा. For example, you are given with a flow field, आपको एक flow field दिया जाता है और आपको कहा जाता है if you are given with a flow field and you are asked to check whether the stream function will exist it or not, so you just have to check the continuity. If it is satisfied, so it means that the stream function will exist. So this is how we can utilize this information. So stream function satisfies the continuity and it will exist in continuous flow. That is definite. Then let us check whether the velocity potential function phi will exist in continuous flow or not. So again, taking the continuity equation, this one, and putting the values of u and v in terms of the phi. So partial phi over partial x is u, and partial phi over partial y is equal to v. So this thing you have to memorize, that how u and v is, how phi is defined by u and v, and how psi is defined by u and v. So putting the values of u and v, and further simplifying it, so partial square phi or partial x square and partial square phi or partial y square will be 0. So equation number 2 is known as Laplace equation of velocity potential function, which is the Laplace equation of velocity potential function in differential form. This is a differential equation of velocity potential function, which is a Laplace equation. Now from this equation, if you see, the left hand side of this equation may or may not be 0. 0 भी हो सकती है और 0 नहीं भी हो सकती. So left hand side of this equation may or may not be 0. That means that it means that the velocity potential function may or may not exist in continuous flow. तो जब continuous flow होगा तो ज़रूरी नहीं है कि हर बार जो है वो velocity potential function exist करेगा और ये भी ज़रूरी नहीं है कि exist ना करे. So in case of continuous flow, the stream function will definitely exist and velocity potential function may or may not exist. Now coming to the irrotational flow. Now we have to see out of these two functions, stream function and velocity potential function, which one satisfies the irrotationality, and that will definitely exist in that case. So we know that for irrotational flow, the equation is partial u or partial x minus partial v or partial x minus partial u over partial y is equal to 0. This is the equation that we have derived in our first lecture for the irrotationality of the flow or for irrotational flow. So partial v over partial x minus partial u over partial y is equal to 0. Now considering the stream function, first of all, psi, we know that again this is just a repetition of what we have checked it for the continuous flow. So we know that partial psi over partial y is equal to u, and partial psi over partial x is equal to minus v. So putting the values of v and u over here, so we can put v is minus partial psi over partial x and u partial psi over partial y. Further, you can take minus 1 common, so the equation will become positive, and take it on the other side will be 0. So simplifying it, so partial square psi over partial x square plus partial square psi over partial y square is equal to 0. So the left hand side of equation number 3 may or may not be 0. As you can see, ये दोनों बराबर नहीं है, बराबर हो भी सकते हैं, यानी कि इसके ऑपोजिट भी आ सकता है ये टर्म. So the left hand side equation number 3 may or may not be 0. So it means that the stream function may or may not exist in irrotational flow. So stream function will definitely exist in continuous flow, but in irrotational flow, stream function may or may not exist. Then we have to check it for the velocity potential function. Again, we know partial phi over partial x is equal to u, and partial phi over partial y is equal to v. Now from this equation, we can further write that putting the values of u and v, so partial phi over partial y we can put in terms of v, and partial phi or partial x in terms of u in the irrotation. Your partial x partial y and partial square phi or partial x partial y is equal to 0. So if you see the equation number 4, the left hand side will always be 0. दोनों बराबर है term, minus का sign है बीच में. So the left hand side of equation number 4 will always be 0, which shows that the velocity potential function will always exist in irrotational flow. So this is what we have concluded up till now. Number one, that stream lines and equipotential lines, they intersect each other normally because their slopes are opposite. And then we have proved this thing, we have checked this thing that in case of continuous flow, stream function will definitely exist. And also in case of irrotational flow, velocity potential function will definitely exist. So this is what we have up till now covered about the streamlines and equipotential lines and about the stream function and equipotential function. So let us solve this take this information to solve some numericals relating to it. So the first one is you are given with the 3 flow fields which are characterized by the function psi, and you are asked to find the function velocity potential function or equation of velocity potential function using this information. So for example, the first case is psi is 30y. You are given with psi is 30y. It is a flow field, 2-dimensional flow field, which represents uniform flow with a velocity 30 meter per second parallel to x-axis in positive x direction. तो ये शो कर रहा है कि ये एक फ्लो फील्ड है जिसमें जो वेलोसिटी है वो 30 मीटर पर सेकंड है और ये वेलोसिटी अलोंग पॉजिटिव एक्स एक्सिस है. इसका मतलब है इट इज़ अ यूनिडायरेक्शनल फ्लो फील्ड. इसमें जो वर्टिकल कंपोनेंट है वेलोसिटी का वो नहीं है, यानी कि v इसमें 0 है और सिर्फ u इसमें एग्जिस्ट कर रहा है. So first of all, taking the first part, psi is 30y. So we know that mathematically u is partial psi or partial y. So partial of 30y or partial y is equal to 30. And we know that v is minus partial psi or partial x. So partial of 30y or partial x is 0. So and also it is also mentioned that along y-axis no velocity component. So इसको भी इसलिए 0 हम लेंगे. Now we know that u dx plus v dy is equal to d phi. So d phi is u dx because v is 0. So d phi is putting the value of u 30x. So take 30 into dx. Taking the integral, so integral of d phi will be phi, and integral of 30x, that will be 30 into dx, that will be 30x plus c, because it is indefinite integral. So that's why we have introduced the sign of this constant of integration. So on the same lines, you can check the for the other flow field given to you, and it can be other way around as well. कि आपको हो सकता है phi दिया गया हो, जैसे इसमें दिया है phi, तो इसमें psi की बजाय phi हो 30y, and you are asked to check and find the expression for the psi. That you have to do at yourself at your places. तो इनकी बजाय psi की बजाय अगर phi को ले लें ये वैल्यूज और psi की इक्वेशन निकाल लें तो आपने अपने तौर पे करनी है, just to practice. Now the second flow field, if you take psi is minus 40x, again we know, and this is mentioned that it represents a uniform velocity of 40 meter per second in positive y direction. इसका मतलब है कि इसका u component 0 है, ये v ही इसमें दिया होगा. Anyhow, so psi is minus 40x, so we know v is minus partial psi or partial x. So partial of minus 40x or partial x is minus 40 and multiply with minus 1, so our minus it will be positive 40. So v is 40 in this. U is 0 already mentioned in the statement R. We know that u is partial psi or partial y. So partial of 40x over partial y is 0. Now we know the equation of phi, d phi is u dx plus v dy. So in this u is 0, so d phi will be v dy. V is 40, so d phi will be 40y. Taking the integration, so it will be phi is equal to 40y plus c. This is how we can get the equation of the velocity potential function given the stream function. As I mentioned, you can reverse it. You can take it as the velocity potential function, and you can get the equation of the stream function. The third part is you are given with psi is 17.3y minus 10x. So in this case, x velocity is having both components, x, v and u. Anyhow, we know mathematically u is partial psi or partial y. Putting the value psi, so partial of 17.3 is y or partial y is 17.3, and partial of 10x or partial y is 0. So answer will be 17.3. We know v is minus partial psi or partial x, so that will be minus psi is 30. So partial of 17 point y over partial x is 0, and partial of minus 10x over partial x is minus 10. So minus 10 into minus, that is 10. So this is how we can get the u and v. So remember this, whenever you are given with psi or phi, psi फंक्शन दिया हो या phi फंक्शन, तो आप स्ट्रेट वे वहाँ से u और v की वैल्यू निकाल सकते हैं डिपेंडिंग ऑन दी एक्सप्रेशन. d phi is u dx plus v dy. Putting the values, d phi is 17.3 dx plus 10y. Taking integration, so integration of d phi is phi. Integration of 17.3 into dx, that is 17.3x. Integration of 10 into dy, that is 10y plus c. This is the equation for the velocity potential function. Another flow field is given to you, that is psi is 12.5 y square. You have to find the vorticity of this flow field. So for this, again, psi is 12.5 y square. We need to find u and v first, because we know the vorticity is partial v over partial x minus partial u over partial y. So we need u and v in this. We know that u is partial psi over partial y, that is partial of 12.5 y square over partial y, that is 25y. And we know v is minus partial psi over partial x, that is equal to 0. So psi is 12.5 y square. So partial of 12.5 y square over partial x, that will be 0. Now we know vorticity is partial v over partial x minus partial u over partial y. So v is 0, so partial of 0 over partial x is 0. U is 25y, so partial of 25y over partial y is 25. So 0 minus 25 is minus 25. So this is the vorticity for this two-dimensional flow field. Another flow field which is given to you, that is psi is 3x square y minus y cube. Again you have to find vorticity. So just like the similar previous case, find u, that is partial psi over partial y. So putting the value of psi over here, 3x square y minus y cube. So partial of 3x square y over partial y is 3x square, and partial of y cube over partial y, it is negative sign already है यहाँ पे, that is 3y square. So this is the u value based on partial psi over partial y. Then v is minus partial psi over partial x. Putting the values again, so partial 3x square y over partial x is minus 6xy. माइनस साइन यहाँ पे पहले ही है, एंड पार्शियल ऑफ वाई क्यूब और पार्शियल एक्स इज 0. तो यू और बी की वैल्यूज आ गई. वी नो दैट वोर्टिसिटी इज पार्शियल वी और पार्शियल एक्स माइनस पार्शियल यू और पार्शियल वाई. सो दिस इज वोर्टिसिटी वी नो. पुटिंग द वैल्यू ऑफ वी, दैट इज minus 6xy. So partial of minus 6xy over partial x, that is 6 minus y. Then partial of 3x square over partial y is 0 minus 3y square over partial y, that is minus 6y, and this is minus will be positive. So minus 6y plus 6y is 0. So vorticity is 0 in this case. It means it is an irrotational flow. Next is you are given the two-dimensional flow field, which is u x is minus 3y. You need to check whether check the existence of psi and phi and determine their expression. Now solution is stream function psi will exist if continuous continuity flow को satisfy करना है तो stream function exist करेगा. And if this flow field satisfies the rotational flow, it means that the velocity function will exist. Now stream function psi will exist if continuous flow is satisfied. So we know the two-dimensional continuity equation, partial u over partial x plus partial v over partial y is 0. Putting the values, u is 3x and v is minus 3y. So partial of 3x over partial x is 3, and partial of minus 3y over partial y is minus 3. So that will be 0. So it means continuity is satisfied. And once the continuity is satisfied, it means that the stream function will definitely exist in this case. Getting the equation of stream function, so d psi is, we know, minus v dx plus u dy. This is the equation of stream function. Putting the values, v is minus 3y, so minus 3y, that will be positive 3y into dx, and u is 3x, so 3x into dy. Taking the integration, so integration of d psi is psi, integration of 3y into dx, that is 3xy, integration of 3x into dy, that is 3xy, plus c1 constant of integration. So 6xy plus c1 is the equation of psi. So trying different values of psi, we can plot the psi line as well. Next is phi will exist if irrotationality is satisfied. We know it. So for this, we know that the equation of irrotational flow is partial v over partial x minus partial u over partial y must be 0. Put in the values of v and u, minus 3y and 3x. So partial of minus 3y over partial x is 0, and partial of 3x over partial y is 0. So it means that the given flow field also satisfies the irrotationality. It means that phi will definitely exist. The equation of phi, d phi is u dx plus v dy. So d phi is 3x, then it is u into dx, and v is minus 3y, so minus 3y into dy. Taking integration, so partial of d phi is phi, integration of d phi is phi, integration of 3x into dx, that is 1.5 x square, and integration of 3y into dy, that is 1.5 y square with negative sign plus c2. So the answer for phi equation is 1.5 x square minus y square plus c2. This is how we can find, and we can firstly check the existence of stream function, equipotential function, and we can find here equations are expressions. Now next is flow net. Flow net is the network of streamlines and equipotential lines, which is shown graphically. So it's a graphical representation of streamlines and equipotential lines. Like if you see the figure, this one, so you can see the network of streamlines and equipotential lines is known as the flow net. So this is a typically flow in a pipe bend taking place, for which the flow net has been made. It provides flow pattern of a fluid in any pipeline or any other media like soil. Flow pattern means how the flow will take place in a fluid or in a pipeline or in a soil medium, etc. It is specially used to estimate the quantities of subsurface flow or seepage flow. So to find the quantities of seepage flow, subsurface flow, like in case of under the dam, in case of through the earthen dam, in case of canal seepage, and many other examples where we need to find the seepage flow. So one of the ways to, and using the equation of flow net, we can find the flow quantity, or we can find the flow rate. Some of the properties of flow nets are mentioned. While drawing a flow net, following things should be kept in mind. The phi lines intersect the psi lines including phi line और psi line एंगल जो है 90 होगा, और phi line और फिक्स बाउंड्री के दरमियान भी एंगल 90 डिग्री होगा. ये पहला इसका पॉइंट है. The unit figure of the resulting grid is approximately a square. तो इन दोनों को मिलाने से जो एक फिगर बनेगी, unit figure, that will be a square. When the phi line and psi lines they will meet, so the resulting figure will be a square approximately. That is, in the region of uniform flow, the squares are of equal size, and they increase in size in diverging flow and decrease in size in converging flow. So in diverging flow, velocity is decreased, so the spacing between flow lines and equipotential lines increases. That's why there is an increase in the square size. And in case of converging flow, when the velocity is decreased, so there will be decrease in the, when the velocity is increased, there will be decrease in the spacing between flow lines and the equipotential line, so that will decrease the sphere size. तो जहाँ वेलोसिटी बढ़ेगी वहाँ स्फीयर साइज जो है वो कम होगा, और जहाँ वेलोसिटी कम होगी वहाँ स्फीयर साइज ज़्यादा होगा। द स्पेसिंग बिटवीन, जैसे आप देख ही सकते हैं, ये दिस इज द रीजन ऑफ यूनिफॉर्म फ्लो, द स्फीयर साइज ऑफ स्फीयर इज ऑफ सेम साइज, एंड दिस इज द रीजन ऑफ फ्लो इंक्रीज. So you can see, especially inner side of the curve, the flow line, the sphere size is smaller, and outer side of the curve where the velocity is lesser, the sphere size is larger. The spacing of phi line and psi line is equal and inversely proportional to the velocity at any point. तो मैंने पहले एक्सप्लेन कर दिया, जहाँ velocity ज़्यादा होगी स्पेसिंग कम हो जाएगी, और जहाँ velocity कम होगी वहाँ स्पेसिंग ज़्यादा हो जाएगी. The size of the sphere decreases towards the inner side of the curve. If you see this, towards the inner side of the curve, the size of the sphere is reducing because of more velocity, and outer side of the curve, the size of the curve will be larger, of the sphere will be larger. Now the practical examples of flow net usage, that is flow to find the flow, seepage flow under the dam body. So how we can draw the flow net. These are the streamlines, and these are the equipotential lines crossing them at normal angle, and these are the fixed boundaries between which we make this diagram. Another practical example is the flow net through the Arden Dam. We need to find the seepage through the dam body. So again you see these are the flow lines, and these are the equipotential lines that we make it. And this is how we make a flow net, and we can find the seepage flow. The third one is, similarly you should draw the flow net for the converging pipe, and flow net for the diverging pipe, and flow net for the constant diameter pipe. तो ये आपने खुद से बनाना है. Flow net, you have to make a flow net for the constant diameter pipe, very simple one. You have to make a flow net for a converging pipe, and you have to make a flow net for the diverging pipe. तो ये आपने बनाना है. Next time I will check it. Just keeping in view the properties of the flow net. At the end, in this topic, basic flow field. So flow field is a way of looking at motion of a fluid with respect to space and time. तो ये एक टूल है, एक तरीका है बताने का कि जो फ्लो है वो विद रिस्पेक्ट टू डिस्टेंस और विद रिस्पेक्ट टू टाइम कैसे वेरी कर रहा है, या फ्लो की जो वेलोसिटी है वो एक विद रिस्पेक्ट टू स्पेस एंड टाइम कैसे वेरी कर रही है. So it is a way of defining or looking at how the velocity with respect to distance or space and time is varying in a flow field, that is the flow in a flow that is called as a flow field. There are two basic flow fields. One is the rectilinear flow field, another is the source and sink. Rectilinear flow field, as you can see in the figure, it is the simplest of the flow field from a point. So this is the source. You can see the streamlines are symmetrically spaced, and the flow is radially outward from a common central point that is called as a source. Then we have sink. It is a flow field in which streamlines are symmetrically spaced and flow is radially inward to a point. So, this is the sink flow. The streamlines are symmetrically spaced and flow is radially inward to a point, central point, that is called sink. So there can also be combination of the flow field, like rectilinear source flow field हो सकता है, rectilinear sink flow field हो सकता है, etc. So there can be combination of these that can exist. So this is and at the end you should submit one assignment in 2 weeks time, where you have to solve following examples 5.1, 2 and 5 from chapter 5. And you have to solve following problems from the exercise of chapter 5, 5.4, 5.5, 5.6, 7 and 5.8. So that should be submitted. You should do it manually preferably. Make a PDF file, save it with your roll number and submit in the WhatsApp group, and WhatsApp it to Engineer Suhail, whose number is available in your WhatsApp group, TF, Engineer Suhail Teaching Fellow. So you can see his contact, and accordingly you can send him after 2 weeks this assignment. So this is about the first topic that we started last time. Before starting the second topic, let me ask if anybody having any question or queries. Yes, पूछिए question और पूछ ले up till this point. Yes, anybody having any questions from the first topic that we have completed just now? So the slides are already shared with you, so you should get those slides, should go through them. Recordings are also been shared for the first lecture, and for the second lecture will also be shared later in this week. So you have all the relevant material available. So now it's up to you to download them and go through them. Yes, any question?
Sir,
Yes.
we have calculated the stream function and velocity potential for irrotational flow. So सर अगर rotational flow तो फिर इनकी क्या state होती है?
रोटेशनल फ्लो जाहिर है उसमें वो चीज उस तरह की इक्वेशन को सेटिस्फाई नहीं किया जा सकता, ठीक है। तो उस केस में दोनों जो है वो एग्जिस्ट इसमें चेक नहीं है, उसके लिए एग्जिस्ट कर भी सकते हैं और नहीं भी कर सकते, ठीक है।
तो उसके लिए हम इसी मेथड से चेक कर सकते हैं या वो फिर इस पे ये इक्वेशंस अप्लाई नहीं होती?
जाहिर है द मेन थिंग इज इफ यू सी दिस इक्वेशन, yes. So for irrotational flow, if you see the equation, that is start with our next topic. If you don't have any further questions, so I will again take up the question at the end. So this is our third topic to be started in the third week. That is the second topic that I have to cover before mid. So I have this week and the next week's lecture to complete it. So we'll cover part of it today and partly in next week's lecture along with the second part. So forces on immersed bodies, that is our next topic. This is chapter number 10 of Doherty book. Chapter number 10 of Doherty book, that is forces on immersed bodies. So it is again it is a conceptual topic, so you should go through this chapter number 10 as well, the slides and the recording that will be shared later. So forces on immersed bodies mean when a body is moving in a fluid which is fully and the body is fully immersed, what forces the fluid will exert on it, whether the body is at rest and fluid is moving or the fluid is at rest and body is moving. तो दो इसमें पॉसिबिलिटी हैं कि अगर हमारे पास कोई ऑब्जेक्ट है बॉडी, जैसे एरोप्लेन है, वी हैव द सबमरीन, वी हैव द ट्रेन फॉर एग्जांपल, so they are moving in air or in water. If you consider that the fluid is moving, is having stationary position, in other words, they have the relative movement. So, and second possibility is we have the object stationary, like in case of the design of planes and design of trains, etc. That is done in the laboratories, in the model stations, where we have the wind tunnels, and in which the fluid is moving at some velocity and the object is kept stationary. So in both the scenarios in fluid mechanics, there is no difference actually whether the fluid is moving and the body is at rest or stationary, or the body is moving and the fluid is at rest. तो दोनों केसेस में जो फोर्सेस लगती हैं वो फ्लूइड मैकेनिक्स में उसको सेम ही लिया जाता है. In terms of fluid mechanics, these forces are considered same. Okay, so let us first of all define what sort of force a body will experience when it is moving as an immersed body in a fluid, or when it is kept immersed in a fluid and the fluid is moving. So wherever there is a relative motion between body and the fluid, the body will always experience a force which has two components. One component is in the direction of flow of the fluid and it is called as a drag force, and the other component, which is normal to the direction of flow of the fluid, it is known as a lift force. The drag force is the component of the fluid which is along the direction of flow of the fluid, and the lift force is the component of the force of the fluid which is normal to the direction of flow, which is trying to lift the object. If you see the diagram, for example, an object, is placed in a fluid which is flowing with velocity u in kilometer per hour, which is called undisturbed velocity of the approaching fluid. Undisturbed velocity of approaching fluid u. So when this fluid will come in contact with this object which is immersed in the fluid, so it will have a force acting on it, having two components. One force will try to drag it along the flow, which is a drag force, and the other force which will try to lift this object, that is the lift force. So as I mentioned that in fluid mechanics, there is no difference in the response of the body when the body is stationary and the fluid is in motion, and secondly when the fluid is stationary and the body is in motion. What are the factors which affect the force of fluid on the body? Number one, velocity of approaching fluid. With the increase in the velocity, more force will be applied, which is called as a relative velocity. Size of the object. So more is the size of the object, accordingly more force will be applied, more will be the force. Shape of the object will also have the effect on it. Inclination of the object, the angle of the object with respect to x-axis, you can say. If the object is placed vertically, so accordingly one force will be much more than the other, and if the object is placed horizontally, again one force will be more than the other, and if it is placed at some angle, so accordingly the force will be different. Some of the practical examples where we consider this concept and using it we design the different bodies like submarine, airplanes, bullet fired, harpoon. Harpoon is a device used to catch fish in water bodies. It has a sharp edge and a cylindrical element which is with which it is thrown in water and moves there. So it also experiences the force as a force on immersed body. Wind load on buildings, kite flying, train, bridge, piers. So these are some of the examples where the body is immersed and it experiences force of fluid on it. Now next is the drag lift force. First of all, FL. F sub L is a lift force. So let me define first of all what is the lift force and how you can find out. It is a component of the force normal to the direction of flow of the fluid, of the liquid or fluid, and its tendency is to lift the object. It is actually the summation of all the normal to flow components of the force of the pressure or of the pressure forces on the object. तो कैसे फाइंड करते हैं कि जो हम नॉर्मल टू फ्लो जितने भी फोर्स एक्ट कर रही होती हैं उसको अगर हम अलजेब्रिक सम ले लें तो वो लिफ्ट फोर्स के बराबर आएगा. तो लिफ्ट फोर्स इज द समेशन ऑफ ऑल द नॉर्मल टू फ्लो कंपोनेंट्स ऑफ द प्रेशर फोर्सेज ऑन द ऑब्जेक्ट. So mathematically FL is CL rho u square by 2 into A. CL is coefficient of lift and it depends on shape, size and inclination of the object, and it can be determined experimentally. So experimentally, for example, using a wind tunnel, we know how much force we are applying, how much is rho density of air or fluid is being used. We note the velocity with which the fluid is moving. We know the area of the plate or body which is placed, and we can find CL experimentally in this case. U is the undisturbed velocity in this formula of the fluid, which is the relative velocity. A is the area of the projection or surface area of the object. So A is the area of projection which is having the pressure of the fluid or fluid force, or it is the surface area of the object. Next is the drag force. Now what is drag force? Whenever, as already explained, that whenever there is relative motion between body and the fluid, and the body is immersed in the fluid, the body will always experience a force. The component of this force in the direction of flow of the fluid is called as a drag. So drag force is the component of the force of the fluid in the direction of flow of the fluid experienced by the immersed body. So mathematically, it is a summation of all components of the pressure forces in the direction of flow of the fluid plus drag due to friction between the body and the fluid. So remember this, drag force is actually the pressure drag and the friction drag. pressure drag plus friction drag. So it again depends how the body is placed in the fluid. If it is placed vertically, so pressure drag will be much more than the friction drag, and if it is placed horizontally, there is more contact surface between fluid and the object. So friction drag will be much more than the pressure drag. So total drag force is the sum of the pressure drag and the friction drag. Where FB is the pressure drag and Fs is the friction drag and FD is the total drag force. So mathematically the drag force is again CD rho u square by 2 into A, where CD is the coefficient of the drag force and it depends on shape, size and inclination of the object, and it can be determined experimentally as well. Pressure drag and friction drag on the same lines can be written. So FP pressure drag is CP rho u square by 2 into A, and FF the friction drag which is CF rho u square by 2 into A, where CP and CF are the coefficient of pressure drag and friction drag respectively. And again they can be determined experimentally and they depend on shape, size and inclination of the object. Now let us see how we can find these forces in numerical. A kite which may be assumed a flat plate of face area 1.2 square meters and a mass of 1 kg is flying at an angle of 35 degrees to the horizontal. As you can see in the diagram, this is a kite. This is a flat plate and its face area is 1.2 square meters and it is flying, and the string and the tension in the string which is holding the kite is 50 Newton, and it is having angle 35 degree with the horizontal. It has a W as the weight downward, and the two forces which are acting on it, FD drag force and the lift force FL, and the velocity, wind velocity is 40 km per hour. The tension in the string holding the kite is 50 Newton and the wind is blowing with undisturbed velocity of 40 km per hour. The density of air is 1.2 kg per cubic meter, that you can lift and drag force and how to find that lift and drag force. So till now in this we have learned what is drag force, what is lift force, and now we are following one numerical, that's how you can find this lift and drag force. I hope these slides are visible to you. I have to share again. Okay, so can you see these slides? Anybody can confirm?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so we were discussing this numerical, that how you can find the lift and drag force. So we are given with certain parameters like a kite having face area of 1.2 square meter, its weight is acting downward with mass of 1 kg. So if it is 1 kg, it means weight is m into g, so 9.81 Newton is the weight of the kite acting downward. There is a tension in the string holding the kite, 50 Newton. As you can see in the diagram, this one is acting downward. It has two components. One is along the weight, which is 50 sine of 35, sine component, and one component of this 50 Newton is acting opposite to FD, that is in negative x-axis, that is the 50 cos of 35. This is a force diagram that you have to make to find lift and the drag force. The wind velocity is 40 km per hour is given. What you have to find, lift and drag force and lift and drag coefficient. So this is the thing that we require. U is density of air is 1.2 kg per cubic meter to be used. Velocity of the wind is converted to meter per second. So 40 into 1000, that will be metered. Hour has 36 into 36, 60 into 60 seconds, minutes and seconds. So 40,000 divided by 30, 600. So that you get 11.11 as the answer for it. Now let us find the lift and drag force. So by definition, lift is the algebraic sum of all the forces acting in the direction normal to the flow. This is the flow direction, and normal to it is the y-axis, for example, in this case. So how many forces are acting in y direction? FL is positive y direction with a plus sign, W in negative y direction with a negative sign by writing the force, and 50 sine of 35 is again in the downward direction. So actually there are three forces acting in y direction that we have to consider. So summation of forces in y direction is 0 to find the lift force. So the force is acting downward with the negative sign is the weight, minus 9.81 minus 50 sine of 35. And FL is in the positive y direction, so that will be with the positive sign. So simplifying it, minus 9.81, you will click on the other side, and this one also, so 50 sine of 35, so in total it comes to be 38.3 newtons. You can also check your answer, check the answer that you are placing. So lift force is 38.8 newtons that we get in this case. Then to find the drag force, we have to take the forces acting in x direction. So there is a drag force, and opposite to it is the 50 cos of 35. So FD, summation of forces in the y-x direction is 0. So FD minus 50 cos of 35 is 0. So FD is 40.96 newtons. So this is how we can find the lift force and the drag force from the given data. Next is to find the coefficient of lift and coefficient of drag. So for coefficient of lift, we know FL is CL rho U square by 2 into A. FL we know 38.3. CL is required. Rho is 1.2. U is 11.11 square by 2 divided by 2, and area, face area of the plate is, kite is 1.2. So CL is, in this way, simplifying it is 0.431 as the coefficient of lift. Similarly, you can find the coefficient of drag, CD rho U square by 2 into A. ये find कर सकते हैं. Again putting the values, and CD will be 0.461. So in this way we can find lift and drag force and their coefficient given the certain data. You can try it with the different data just to have more practice. Now next thing is very important concept, the thing that we are going to start with, and it will throughout this topic will remain in discussion. Concept of boundary layer that we have to discuss over here. So let me explain this figure first, and then we'll go to the text, what has been explained there. You have a smooth flat plate as is shown by this bold line. So we have a smooth flat plate. It has two edges. One is the leading edge, this one, where the fluid and it is placed in a fluid which is moving with undisturbed velocity u. A smooth flat plate is placed or immersed in a fluid which is moving with undisturbed velocity u. So the point where the fluid just enters the plate or just comes in contact with the plate is the leading edge, and the point where the fluid is leaving the plate is the trailing edge, the other edge of the plate. So leading edge where the fluid is entering the plate, and the trailing edge where the fluid is leaving the plate. Now, when we keep this leading edge of the plate has a sharp edge. So there is a sharp edge at the leading end of the plate, and this sharp edge is kept to have the smooth entry of the fluid on the plate. तो ये एक प्लेट स्मूथ फ्लैट प्लेट है जो हॉरिजॉन्टली प्लेस की गई है, आप कह लें। इसका एक लीडिंग एंड है और एक इसका ट्रेलिंग एंड है। लीडिंग एंड से फ्लूइड जो है वो एंटर हो रहा है प्लेट में मूव करने के लिए इसके ऊपर, और इसका एक शार्प एज है, एंड द रीजन ऑफ दिस शार्प एज इज टू हैव द स्मूथ एंट्री ऑफ द फ्लो टू द प्लेट, एंड द फ्लूइड इज मूविंग विद द अनडिस्टर्ब्ड वेलोसिटी u. So I hope now this scenario is clear. That is, a smooth flat plate is placed in a fluid which is moving with undisturbed velocity u. Now as the fluid starts moving over the plate, as you can see at this point, or as the fluid comes in contact with this plate, it is divided into two parts. So the fluid flow over the smooth flat plate is divided into two parts. One is near the surface of the plate, it is called as a boundary layer, and one is outside it, which is called undisturbed flow. So this is the disturbed flow field, and this is the undisturbed flow of the fluid. तो जैसे ही फ्लूइड जो है प्लेट के ऊपर मूव करेगा, तो ये दो हिस्सों में इसके थ्योरेटिकल या इमेजिनरी जो है आप कह लें दो हिस्से हो जाएंगे। एक है जिसको हम बाउंड्री लेयर कह रहे हैं अप टू दिस पॉइंट, तो प्लेट की सरफेस से लेके ये जो हमने लाइन लगाई हुई है यहाँ तक ये बाउंड्री लेयर है, और इसके बाहर वाला जो रीजन है वो है अनडिस्टर्ब फ्लो। नाउ विद इन द बाउंड्री लेयर, अब इन दोनों में फ़र्क क्या है? यहाँ पे जो है कोई शियर स्ट्रेस नहीं डेवलप हो रही, यहाँ पे वेलोसिटी जो है वो कांस्टेंट है, यूनिफॉर्म है, कोई इसमें फ्रिक्शन ड्रैग नहीं डेवलप हो रहा, कोई फ्रिक्शन यहाँ पे नहीं आ रही। नाउ नियर द सरफेस ऑफ द प्लेट जो रीजन एक बना हुआ है जहाँ से फ्लूइड जो पास कर रहा है, तो वहाँ क्या हो रहा है कि फ्लूइड और बाउंड्री प्लेट के दरमियान जो है शीयरिंग स्ट्रेस डेवलप हो गई है। दिस इज कॉल्ड एज बाउंड्री शियर स्ट्रेस, टॉ नॉट इज बाउंड्री शियर स्ट्रेस। और इसकी वजह से क्या हो रहा है कि वेलोसिटी इज वेरिंग, तो वेलोसिटी नियर द सरफेस इज जीरो एंड वेलोसिटी इज इंक्रीज एज वी आर मूविंग अवे फ्रॉम द सरफेस ऑफ द प्लेट नॉर्मली। So at any distance y from the plate there is velocity small u, and x is the distance along the plate from the leading edge. तो अगर आप देखें तो बाउंड्री लेयर जो है शुरू में ज़ीरो है, यहाँ पे कोई बाउंड्री लेयर की थिकनेस नहीं है, एंड एज वी आर मूविंग अलोंग द प्लेट अलोंग द डिस्टेंस x, the thickness of the boundary layer is increasing and is maximum at the trailing edge. So at any distance x from the boundary layer, from the leading edge, the thickness of the boundary layer is del. So this is the explanation of this diagram, and this is the velocity profile. At any distance x from the leading edge, this is the velocity profile showing very no velocity. Its thickness is 0 at the leading edge. As you can see the diagram, just at the leading edge there is no thickness of the boundary layer. So what is the thickness of the boundary layer actually? It is a vertical distance from the surface of the plate up to the profile of the boundary layer. तो ये जो distance है ये thickness है, तो यहाँ thickness इसकी 0 है. And this thickness increases along the distance from the leading edge x. The maximum thickness of the boundary layer will be at the trailing edge of the plate. The concept of the boundary layer was first introduced by German scientist and engineer Plantel, which is considered as one of the most important advances in the modern fluid mechanics. So this concept is very, very important. Like in modern fluid mechanics, we design certain equipment like planes, we design the submarines, we design trains, the shape of the trains, how they should overcome the friction drag, and how much power they should be given so that they can overcome the friction drag of the fluid and they can move in that. So that all comes with this boundary layer concept. Actually जब भी हमने कोई प्लेन डिज़ाइन करना है या कोई और इस तरह की बॉडी डिज़ाइन करनी है जो कि फ्लूइड में मूव करेगी और फ्लूइड की वजह से या फ्लूइड के अगेंस्ट उसने मूव करना है और वो जो फ्रिक्शन ड्रैग लगेगा उसको ओवरकम करना है, तो फ्रिक्शन ड्रैग कहाँ से आ रहा है? दैट फ्रिक्शन ड्रैग इज एक्चुअली बिकॉज ऑफ दिस बाउंड्री लेयर. Now what is boundary layer? How it is defined? Boundary layer is the region of the fluid extended from the solid surface of the plate in which velocity variation is taking place. This is the definition of the boundary layer. कि ये वो portion है जो कि surface of the plate से शुरू होके extend हो रहा है normally और इसके दरमियान जो है वो velocity change हो रही है. So it is the region of the fluid extended from the solid surface of the plate in which velocity variation is taking place, that is velocity gradient du over dy is not 0. And there is a shearing stress present, tau is not 0, and as a result of it df, friction drag, is also present. So as there is certain value of velocity gradient and shear stress within the boundary layer, so the boundary layer is responsible for the friction drag. Next is the definition of thickness of boundary layer. Thickness of boundary layer is defined as the normal distance from the surface of the plate to a point where 99% of the undisturbed velocity is observed. So if we see the diagram, this line indicates that at this along this line at any point the velocity of the fluid is equal to 99% of undisturbed velocity. यानी कि ये वो लाइन है जिसके बाहर वेलोसिटी 100% u है और इसके अंदर जो वेलोसिटी है वो u से कम है, और इस लाइन पे जो वेलोसिटी है दैट इज 99% ऑफ u, अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 99% ऑफ u. तो सरफेस ऑफ प्लेट से लेके फ्रॉम द सरफेस ऑफ द प्लेट अप टू दिस लाइन विद द वेलोसिटी इज 99% ऑफ u, इट इज कॉल्ड एज द थिकनेस ऑफ द बाउंड्री लेयर. Thickness of the boundary is the normal distance from the surface of the plate to a point with 99% of the undisturbed velocity is observed. What are the factors which affect the boundary layer thickness? Number one, distance from the leading edge of the plate. As you can see, as we are moving along the distance x, thickness is increasing. So with the more distance from the leading edge of the plate, more will be the thickness of the boundary layer. Roughness of the plate. More is the roughness of the plate, more will be the thickness of boundary layer, because I will discuss the types of boundary layer later. So we have the laminar boundary layer in laminar flow, we have the turbulent boundary layer in turbulent flow, and we have the transition boundary layer where both laminar and turbulent they exist. So remember this, in case of turbulent boundary layer, thickness is more as compared to laminar boundary layer. So that's why when there is roughness of the plate, the boundary layer will tend to change from laminar to turbulent, and that will make the thickness more. Then disturbance of the approaching fluid. Again the same reason, when the approaching fluid is disturbed, it means the type of boundary layer will be turbulent boundary layer. तो जब approaching fluid disturb होगा तो जो boundary layer बनेगी वो जो है टर्बुलेंट बाउंड्री लेयर बनेगी और उसमें थिकनेस ज़्यादा होगी। तो ये कुछ फैक्टर है जिसकी वजह से बाउंड्री लेयर की जो थिकनेस है वो इफेक्ट होगी। तो एट द एंड लेट अस डिस्कस द टाइप ऑफ बाउंड्री लेयर और उसको फिर नेक्स्ट टाइम कंटिन्यू करेंगे। As I mentioned, there can be three possible types of boundary layer: laminar boundary layer, turbulent boundary layer, and laminar and turbulent boundary layer, and there is a transition in between. तो ये तीन तरह की possibilities हैं हमारे पास boundary layer के हवाले से। What is laminar boundary layer first? In this type of boundary layer, flow of the fluid is laminar, that is fluid particles, they do not intersect each other's path and flow in lamination. In laminar boundary layer, both the velocity profile and the boundary layer profile are parabolic. So if we see this diagram, so if the flow of the fluid is laminar over the plate, and so in that case, you see the fluid particles. The red line, they are showing the path of the fluid particles. So fluid particles, they have the distinct path, they do not intersect each other's path, and they move in lamination. So this is called as a laminar flow. So if the flow over the plate of the fluid is laminar, so resulting boundary layer will be laminar boundary. This is the laminar boundary layer represented by this black curve. So this is the profile of the boundary layer. So profile of the boundary layer, and this is the profile of the velocity within the boundary layer and outside it. So profile of the boundary layer and profile of the velocity will be parabolic in case of laminar boundary layer. और ये कब होगी, इसके लिए कुछ conditions हैं. Following are the conditions under which the boundary layer, laminar boundary layer will exist on entire length of the plate. पूरी प्लेट जो है उस पर कब बाउंड्री लेयर जो है पूरी की पूरी जो है लैमिनार होगी, उसके लिए ये कंडीशन है. नंबर 1, अप्रोचिंग फ्लूइड हैज लैमिनार फ्लो. जो फ्लूइड इसके ऊपर मूव कर रहा है उसका फ्लो लैमिनार होना चाहिए, उसका रेनॉल्ड नंबर जो है 2000 से कम हो, उसका लैमिनार फ्लो होना चाहिए. यहाँ पे ये जो लैमिनार फ्लो कंडीशन है वो फॉलो होनी चाहिए. देयर शुड बी नो लोकल डिस्टर्बेंस और प्रोजेक्शन एट द लीडिंग एज ऑफ द प्लेट. तो जो प्लेट का लीडिंग एज है वहाँ अगर कोई लोकल रफनेस होगी, लोकल प्रोजेक्शन होगी, कोई रेज यहाँ कोई एज होगा, तो यहीं से फ्लूइड जो है डिस्टर्ब हो जाएगा, तो बाउंड्री लेयर जो है लैमिनार जो है टर्बुलेंट होगी. तो लीडिंग एज पे कोई लोकल प्रोजेक्शन नहीं होनी चाहिए. देयर शुड नॉट बी एनी लोकल प्रोजेक्शन एट द लीडिंग एज, सो दैट विल ऑल्सो मेक दिस बाउंड्री लेयर एज द लैमिनार बाउंड्री लेयर ऑन द एंटायर लेंथ. Plate is smooth for entire length, so there should not be any roughness in between the leading edge and the trailing edge. एक तो यह है कि लीडिंग एज पे कोई रफनेस ना हो, और दूसरा यह है लीडिंग एज से ट्रेलिंग एज के दरमियान किसी भी जगह पे रफनेस ना हो. इफ द रफनेस विल बी देयर, दैट विल चेंज द बाउंड्री लेयर फ्रॉम लैमिनार टू टर्बुलेंट. एंड probably the one of the most important check is the length of the plate should be less. That is L is less than XC. I will discuss this XC. तो अगर लेंथ प्लेट की लेंथ जो है वो काफ़ी ज़्यादा है तो तब भी पूरी लेंथ पे लैमिनार फ्लो नहीं होगा. So if the length of the plate is more, especially more than XC, so then at the point of XC, the laminar boundary layer will change to turbulent boundary layer. Next is the turbulent boundary layer. In this type of the boundary layer, the flow of the fluid is turbulent. That is, the fluid particles, they intersect each other's path and do not flow in lamination, as you can see. So the red lines, they are showing the path of the fluid and particles. So the fluid particles, they cross each other's path, they are mixed up, and as a result of it, a turbulent flow will take place. And as a result of the turbulent flow, the boundary layer indicated by this black curve is this will be the turbulent boundary layer, and the velocity profile will be the turbulent velocity profile, which is not the parabolic. What are the conditions under which turbulent boundary will exist on entire length of the plate? Number 1, approaching fluid has a turbulent flow. So the fluid which is moving over the plate has a turbulent flow, so the boundary layer will be the turbulent boundary layer on the entire length of the plate. Secondly, there is local disturbance projection at the leading edge of the plate. So if some local projection is there, so right at the start, the boundary layer will be the turbulent boundary layer. Now, even in case of turbulent boundary layer, near the surface of the plate, or very small thickness, there will be laminar flow. And this layer, it is indicated by the dotted line, that up to this it is called as a laminar sublayer. अगरचे टर्बुलेंट फ्लो हो रहा है, टर्बुलेंट बाउंड्री लेयर बन रही है, लेकिन इसके फिर भी इसके बावजूद सरफेस से लेके वेरी स्मॉल डिस्टेंस या थिकनेस तक एक लेयर बन जाती है, इसको हम बोलते हैं लैमिनार सब लेयर, जहाँ पे फ्लो जो है वो लैमिनार ही रहता है. दिस इज अनदर कॉन्सेप्ट, इसको हम डिटेल से बाद में डिस्कस करेंगे. सो व्हेन द बाउंड्री लेयर इज टर्बुलेंट ऑन द एंटायर लेंथ ऑफ द प्लेट, then there will always be a very small thickness adjacent to the surface of the plate, in which flow of the fluid will be laminar. This is known as laminar sublayer or viscous sublayer. ये मैंने एक्सप्लेन किया है कि although फ्लो जो है वो टर्बुलेंट है, लेकिन इसके बावजूद सरफेस के पास, सरफेस ऑफ द प्लेट के पास कुछ थिकनेस तक जो है एक लेयर बन जाएगी जिसमें फ्लो लैमिनार होगा. यानी कि इस डॉटेड लाइन के अंदर फ्लो लैमिनार है और इसके बाहर टर्बुलेंट है, जिसको हम बोलते हैं लैमिनार सब लेयर. इसकी थिकनेस बहुत ही कम होती है, 100 ऑफ अ मिलीमीटर या 1000 ऑफ अ मिलीमीटर, 1/1000 ऑफ अ मिलीमीटर तक इसकी थिकनेस होती है. लेकिन यहाँ जो फ्लो है इस लाइन, डॉटेड लाइन के अंदर वो लैमिनार होगा और इसके बाहर टर्बुलेंट होगा. अब इसकी रीजन भी हैं जो हम बाद में डिस्कस करेंगे. तो दिस इज अ टर्बुलेंट बाउंड्री लेयर. तीसरी जो टाइप है इसकी, इन विच बोथ लैमिनार एंड टर्बुलेंट बाउंड्री लेयर दे एग्जिस्ट, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज अ ट्रांजिशन बाउंड्री लेयर आल्सो. तो इसके लिए एक ही कंडीशन है, व्हेन द लेंथ ऑफ द प्लेट इज सफिशिएंट, दैट इज L इज ग्रेटर देन XC, इनिशियली देयर विल बी डेवलपमेंट ऑफ लैमिनार बाउंड्री लेयर ड्यू टू फ्रिक्शन ऑफर्ड बाय द प्लेट, by the surface of the plate. This laminar boundary layer will change to turbulent boundary layer at a distance XC. So XC is the distance from the leading edge of the plate where the laminar boundary layer changes to turbulent boundary layer. This distance can be determined by known value of local Reynolds number, which is 500,000. तो ये वो डिस्टेंस है लीडिंग एज से लेके जहाँ पे जो रेनॉल्ड नंबर है, लोकल रेनॉल्ड नंबर, विच इज डिफाइंड बाय दिस फार्मूला UXC over nu. U is the velocity of the fluid, nu is the kinematic viscosity of the fluid, and XC is the distance from the leading edge at which boundary layer is changing from laminar to turbulent. तो चूँकि हमें रेनॉल्ड नंबर वहाँ पे पता होता है तो हम ये XC डिस्टेंस फाइंड कर लेते हैं. So remember, this rate of increase of in thickness of the turbulent boundary is more than the laminar boundary layer. There will always be a viscous sublayer or laminar sublayer in the turbulent zone. So this is a typical diagram for the third type. This is a transition boundary layer. As you can see, the smooth flat plate is placed in a fluid with undisturbed velocity u, and the length of the plate is more than XC. This is the main thing. The plate is very long and its length is more than XC. So what happens? From leading edge up to the distance XC, there is a laminar boundary layer, this one, and it has a parabolic profile and parabolic profile of the velocity. Now at distance in XC, what happens? Laminar boundary layer start changing to turbulent boundary layer, and before it reaches to true turbulent boundary layer, there is a transition zone, and when it completely changes to turbulent boundary layer, so for turbulent boundary layer there will be viscous sublayer as well. So this is about the third one. So we'll continue this lecture next time, and we'll analyze the different types of the boundary layer. Yes, any question up till now from today's lecture you can ask. Yes, any questions from your side up till now? So you should go through these slides, especially the second topic that we have started with, so that we can continue with this next time, and we have to complete it next week. तो इसलिए आपने इसको अच्छी तरह पढ़ना है ताकि नेक्स्ट टाइम आप इसको समझ सकें कैसे इसको एनालिसिस हमने करना है बाउंड्री लेयर का. Yes, any question up till now you have, please ask. If no question, then I will end the recording over here first, and let me take your attendance.